Here's what nobody tells you about Charlotte until you've already signed the lease or closed on the house. And one of these 7 things can actually change your budget more than you'd expect. If this is your first time on the channel, hey, I'm Daniel Morabel, realtor/broker with eXp Realty based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I service both North and South Carolina. Before we dive in, I'm not a lifelong Charlottean myself, and neither is most of the city anymore, which is actually one of the truths on this list. But I've worked in this market long enough to know exactly what catches every newcomer off guard. And that's what this video is actually about. Now, before we get into it, if this is the kind of content that is useful to you, whether you're catching this on your phone, your TV tonight, or your computer on a break, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps this channel reach more people who are trying to figure out the exact same thing you are right now. All right, so 7 things locals wish they knew before they moved here. Some of it's going to surprise you, but by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to budget for, what to verify before you buy, and what nobody puts in a relocation brochure. One thing before we start, I've got people calling and booking time with me on this exact topic every single week. So if you're seriously considering Charlotte, don't wait until the end of this video. Grab the link below, throw a time on my calendar, and let's talk through what your specific move would look like. All right, number 1, it's Uptown, not downtown. And this one is small, but it'll mark you as a newcomer really quickly. There is no downtown in Charlotte. Locals call it Uptown, and they mean it. Here's the actual reason why, not just for branding choice. No matter which direction you approach the city center from, you're geographically moving up in elevation. So the name isn't marketing, it's topography. It's one of those small facts that instantly signals whether someone's actually spent time here or is just repeating what they read online. Here's the practical piece. Say downtown, around a local, and you'll get a polite correction every single time. So save yourself that moment and just say Uptown from day one. It sounds like a tiny thing, but it's usually the first sign that you're, someone that actually knows the city or is still getting oriented. Number 2, and this is the one that actually affects your wallet, not just your vocabulary. Mecklenburg County has a property tax reevaluation scheduled for 2026, which reassesses what every property in the county is worth for tax purposes. And reevaluation in fast-growing counties like this one tend to push assessed values and tax bills upward, not downward usually. On top of that, Charlotte's water budget for this fiscal year already added roughly $5.47 a month for the typical water and sewer customer, plus another 67 cents or so for stormwater. And a new full % of sales tax went into effect as of this year too. None of these show up on a listing sheet when you're comparing homes online. They show up a year or 2 after you've already moved in, which is exactly why so many buyers feel blindsided by rising costs, even though nothing about their mortgage payment actually changed. Here's the takeaway. None of these individually are massive, but stacked together, they represent real rising carrying costs that a lot of newcomers don't really budget for when they're only looking at the sticker price of a home. Now, factor in where things are headed, not just where they are today, and build a little cushion into your monthly budget for exactly this kind of gradual increase, rather than assuming your, very first year's costs are what they'll be 5 years from now. And that's not a reason to avoid buying here. It's a reason to plan for it honestly from day one. All right, number 3, and this one surprises transplants from bigger, denser cities more than almost anything else on this list. Charlotte's walk score sits just at 26 out of 100. It's truly car dependent, and the metro runs a single light rail kind of route, which is called the Blue Line, which leaves most neighborhoods transit poor. Now, traffic backs up here too. The average Charlotte driver loses around 49 hours a year sitting in traffic, and the growth here is outpacing the infrastructure built to handle it. The city added more people than any other city in America between July 2024 and July 2025 alone. Now, I hear this from my clients consistently, especially people relocating from New York, New Jersey, Chicago, or the Bay Area, where owning a car was optional, sometimes even a hassle. Here, it flips entirely. Even in the more walkable pockets of this metro, you'll still likely want a car for anything outside a pretty tight radius. Grocery runs, doctor appointments, and most jobs that are not from home. Now, put plainly, if you're coming from a city where you never needed a car, budget for one here. A handful of neighborhoods like Uptown, South End, Noda, Plaza Midwood are actually walkable. The rest of the metro isn't. Not yet at least, but that's exactly the kind of thing projects like the upcoming Silver Line light rail are meant to start changing over the next several years. One more practical note while we're on this: if you're used to street parking or a doorman building, get ready for a different rhythm entirely. Most homes here come with a garage or a driveway, which is honestly a convenient thing once you're used to it. But it also means your day-to-day errands almost always start and end with getting in a car. Give yourself a real adjustment period here. It's not just a logistics change, it's a lifestyle change. So number 4, and if you've watched my other videos on this channel, you know I hammer this point consistently because it matters that much. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, or CMS, assignment systems confuse nearly every single relocating client I work with. And that's true for plenty of locals too, not just for newcomers. 2 homes a few streets apart can be zoned for completely different schools. Zip codes don't reliably tell you the district. Even the town's name on your mailing address doesn't guarantee anything. We've seen that exact issue on other properties too, that I've covered on this channel, including towns that straddle 2 entirely different counties with the same zip code. CMS is also one of the largest districts in the entire state, which means boundary lines shift more often than a lot of smaller, simpler districts. That's not a reason to panic, it's a reason to verify every single time right before you write an offer, not months beforehand. So here's why that's worth knowing. Never assume a school assignment based on the neighborhood's reputation. Pull the actual assigned school for the exact address before you fall in love with a home, which is something I verify for every single client, every single time, no exceptions, if school zoning is important to you. Quick pause halfway through this list. I've had people pause this exact video right here to book a call with me. So if any of this is changing how you're thinking about your move, you don't need to wait until the end of the video. The link is right below, so grab time on my calendar and let's talk through your specific situation. All right, 3 more truths to go. Let's go for it. All right, so number 5, and more than a quarter of North Carolina residences live in an HOA governed community. And Charlotte specifically has one of the highest percentages of HOA communities in the entire country. That means monthly or quarterly fees, architectural review boards for exterior changes, rules on everything from paint colors to parking, and restrictions you may not expect if you're coming from an area where HOAs weren't the norm. I've had more than one client get honestly frustrated finding out mid-contract that their new neighborhood has rules about things like storing a boat in the driveway or the exact style of mailbox that you're allowed to have. Here's the practical piece. This isn't automatically a bad thing. HOAs help protect property values and keep shared amenities maintained. But if you specifically want to avoid one, you'll need to search for it intentionally. Because in this market, HOA-free is the exception, not the default. And while we're talking about costs going in, this is exactly why getting pre-approved before you start touring homes matters so much here specifically. A pre-approval doesn't just tell you your loan amount. A good lender will walk you through how HOA dues, property taxes, and insurance actually affect what you can comfortably afford before you've spent weekends touring homes that don't actually fit your real budget once those numbers are added in. That one step alone saves my clients more wasted time than almost anything else I can tell them early on. All right, number 6, and the weather isn't what people assume. And this one splits people right down the middle. Summers here run hot and humid. Temperatures in the low 90s for weeks at a stretch from about June through September. The kind of humid that makes even a short walk to your car feel like a workout. Winters are mild by comparison, especially to the north. Snow is actually rare and usually just an inch or 2, maybe once a year. But when a ½ inch falls, expect citywide shutdowns, schools closed, and grocery stores empty out fast. This region simply isn't built for snow removal the way northern cities are. There aren't fleets of plow trucks sitting around waiting for a storm that happens once a winter. Spring brings its own challenges too. A real pollen surge starting in about March, heavy enough that cars visibly turn yellow with it. So if you deal with allergies, prepare for the season specifically. And don't be surprised if your car needs an extra wash or 2 just to get through it. Fall, by contrast, is honestly the payoff season here. Weeks of comfortable 70s and real leaf color in November. The kind of stretch that makes a lot of transplants fall in love with this climate. despite everything else on this list. So here's the honest read. If you're moving from the Northeast or the Midwest or the West Coast, you'll retire your snow shovel for good. And if you're moving from somewhere like Florida, you'll actually appreciate having a real 4 seasons here again. Where you're coming from shapes whether this weather feels like a win or an adjustment. Now, number 7, and I'll close with this one. And this one surprises people the most about the culture itself. Native Charlotteans are effectively a minority in their own city at this point. After decades of steady inbound migration and a lot of South Charlotte neighborhoods, you'll meet more people originally from New Jersey, New York, Ohio, or California than the Carolinas themselves. There's a real upside to that. Nobody cares where you went to high school, and newcomers integrate into the city really fast. Faster than a lot of longer established southern cities, where multiple generation roots can make it noticeably harder to break into the existing social fabric. Meetup groups, professional networking events, and neighborhood social clubs are everywhere here, built specifically to help transplants, like possibly you, find their people quickly, because so much of the city was built by transplants doing exactly that. There's a trade-off too. If you came here specifically chasing deep generational Southern tradition, what you're actually getting is a banking city with Southern weather, not the old South experience some people expect. The economy leans heavily on finance too. Charlotte's the second largest banking city in the country, which means when the one industry slows down, this city tends to feel it faster than a metro with a more evenly spread economy base. It's not a reason to avoid Charlotte, but it's a real economic dependency worth understanding if you're planning to build a long-term career here. So that's the real list. Uptown, not downtown, rising cost on the horizon, real car dependency, a school system worth verifying address by address, HOAs everywhere, weather that splits opinions, and a culture built by people who came from somewhere else, myself included, most likely. None of this is meant to talk you out of Charlotte. It's meant to make sure you're walking in with your eyes open, because the newcomers who end up happiest here are the ones who knew what they were signing up for, not the ones who found out the hard way, usually a year or two after they'd already unpacked every box. Now, I'll be straight with you like I always am. Almost every point on this list is something I've either lived through myself or watched a client navigate firsthand. That's the whole point of this video. If you're watching this and you've already made your peace with everything on this list, that's a great sign. It means you're moving here with realistic expectations, which tends to make for a much smoother transition than moving here on a highlight reel alone. So, simply put, here's what to do next. The link is right below this video. Grab a spot on my calendar and let's talk through what your specific move to Charlotte should actually look like. And if you don't have a lender yet, I can absolutely connect you with one I trust free of charge. And like always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.